From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Coming up on today's show, try to give you some Tate takes, some practice observations, but Corey and I get derailed into an argument over the college football playoff, but we do give you our thoughts on the Louisville game, our first impressions, and the replay from last night's college football playoff reveal with Tom Lang, Gene Williams, and myself. Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida, 2475 Appalachian Parkway. You can always find them on the website, cptallybar.com. Hit the QR code, takes you right there. You can check out the full menu. They have delicious lunch specials, but they also have a very ambitious menu, Corey, I would say. Ahi-crusted tuna, bacon-wrapped shrimp, barbecued pulled pork nachos, the smokehouse chicken salad, the Nashville hot, the prime rib sandwich, the bear. I mean, they're not messing around. You want to just play some darts? You want to play some pool? You want to play some trivia or bingo? Cool. But go out there and eat. Treat yourself. Yeah. Treat yourself. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Wednesday's lunch special, of course. 5-piece chicken wings and french fries. Some say best chicken wings in town. Those that know.
Yeah, and if you can't be in Charlotte, which I hope all of you are, but if you can't be in Charlotte, I'm telling you, that's a nice place to go watch the Noles. It's packed. It's a lot of Florida State fans. It's got a game atmosphere, kind of, because everybody's riled up and into the game. So, yeah, get there early, though, because there aren't a lot of seats go fast for a big game.
Speaking of Charlotte, don't forget, this weekend is the ACC Championship game, but Friday, the welcome party from the Charlotte Seminole Club going on over at Resident Culture, 6 p.m. Friday on the south end, 332 West Bland Street, Charlotte, North Carolina. All ages are welcome. So be on your P's and Q's, Corey Clark. Jeff Cameron. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. Ira's always going to be on his P's and Q's, just the face. If we were a fraternity, he's our face guy, is what they used to call it. The face guy. How are you, Corey? I trust you're well?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. Thanks for asking. How are you doing?
Good, man. Just buzzing off that playoff poll release last night. Just feeling it at practice yesterday. Going to go freeze again today. Cannot wait.
Right.
I hate the cold more and more as every year transpires. I can't imagine what I'm going to be like if I can make it to like 65. Not that that's old. But, that's just, it's, I don't want to do the math, but, it's a decade and change away. I just wonder how much more miserable of a man I'll be when that stuff rolls around. But no one wants to know about that. Give us some observations from practice on Tuesday, Corey. I know period 3, first team period, wasn't like the most, wasn't the most beautiful display of offensive football, but I'm assuming on Tuesday, the scenario was get into field goal range. We're probably down by 1 or 2, and let's see what can happen. And Darian Williamson caught a pass. Lawrence O'Philly caught a pass, and Ryan Fitzgerald did his job and made a 45-yard field goal. So that's your team period observations. I don't think they scored on the play, which is like period 9 or so when they're wrapping up that first kind of 11-on-11 stuff they'll do outside. That one was a little bit touch and go too, it felt like, but I think the defense rose up. Yeah, it was a pass to our guy Jackson West, who we need to ask about Jackson West. He's part of the plans, but give me some other sauce that you saw out there on the field for the Seminoles, Corey.
Not a lot. I got there late. I just saw him against scout team. The Florida State offense dominated the scout team defense, and the Florida State defense looked like they dominated the scout team offense. So looked good on that.
The 2.5 is just giving away money. Only 2.5. The line sounds like
that's crazy. It's going down though. I think that thing keeps getting lower. So I mean, look, it was a shorter practice than normal, as Norvell alluded to afterwards. He said, it's that time of year. But when they're going, they're going. They're not out there kind of going through the motions. They're practicing hard. But I feel like he cut it about, I would say, 20 minutes short than what they normally do. We'll see what they do today, or you'll see what they do today, because I will not be there, thankfully. I'll be in my warm electric blanket, Aslan.
Yeah, cool.
Nice and cozy.
Nice.
Tell me how it goes. But
I'll
man,
FaceTime you.
It struck me because it was cold, and we're sitting up there in that wind tunnel on the baseball field, and I'm like, man, it's just, it's kind of obviously it's cool. We have great jobs, and I never take it for granted. But like, it's a good privilege for a team to still be practicing this week. There aren't many, right? There's what? How many teams are practicing this week out of 130? 12? 14?
You know, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. That's cool. It's been 9 years since I've had to cover. Well, and back then we didn't get to watch practice. But 9 years since a team I covered was practicing this time of year. And, you know, I thought it was interesting. Ira asked him, because this is something we're going to talk a lot about here in the next month. But he did ask him about, like, the balance of game planning, getting ready for Louisville, not Louisville.
Right.
Ira keeps telling me it's not Louisville. Louisville. But also, the portal is filling up, gang. Like, there's kids being offered in the portal. The portal is filling. Guys from all across the country, it's portal season. Every day there's, 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 more quarterbacks that get in the portal. And, Florida State has to do their due diligence, because I'm pretty sure, Aslan, didn't we say this yesterday, that they can start signing on the 4th, right?
I think that's when it opens.
Well, I think it's all. You can put your name in the portal, but I assume you can sign any time after that. It's like free agency, right?
Yeah, I guess maybe that's when you can start making contact.
Yeah, but typically, like, literally, you could make contact. The guy's like, "Yeah, I want to come," and then there you go, you're signed. I think, right? I think that could be the early. I don't think it's like National Signing Day, where there's just one set day that you got to get to December.
Oh, correct.
20th. Correct. I think they could just start signing whenever. So that will start in earnest next Monday. So. Trust me, Florida State wants to win this game. They're paying attention to this game. They're game planning for this game. A lot of their attention is to this game. But, you also have to prepare for the future, and that's what these teams that are practicing this week have to deal with that, the Floridas of the world don't. Or the Miamis of the world don't, because they're not playing this week. They're not playing in their conference championship game, so they can devote their time to the one-on-one meetings with the kids currently on their roster to get a feel for what they're going to do, and then also really start examining the portal. But Norvell sounded like, and there's no reason to doubt him, that they're paying attention to the portal too. They're also trying to obviously keep contact with the high school recruits. They want to keep that thing in the top 5 and get all the players that they want to get. But, man, what a crazy time of year this is. You're basically playing a playoff game this Saturday, and then 2 days later, free agency starts. Like, imagine, let's say the Baltimore Ravens just beat the Bills in the divisional round, and then 2 days later, they have to decide if they want the safety from the Patriots. You know what I mean? Like, free agency opens up. It is crazy what this calendar is like for these college football staffs, but that's the reality, and they are going to have to go get guys in the portal and firm up the guys that are on their roster. They have to do all that starting on Monday, 2 days after you hope they've hoisted a trophy and earned themselves a spot in the playoff. What a time.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, too. I mean, I don't think we'll ever really know or be able to quantify it, but I don't think Georgia's going to be having to spend maybe as much time looking at prospects in the portal and entertaining them. Same with Michigan. Not sure about Washington and Oregon and whoever else is going to be in the fold with Florida State that makes it to the playoff. But the staff does seem quite organized, so surely they'll be able to handle it. And the window's open from December 4th to January 2nd. So it's
the window, meaning they can sign anytime between then and then, right?
Right.
That's got to be what it means, yeah.
They can officially enter the portal at midnight, December 4th. You can go ahead and declare your intentions beforehand, but you can't the portal's not officially open for business, quotes,
right,
until December 4th at midnight. So, we'll see how they balance all that sort of stuff out.
How many guys do you think they're going to get?
Man,
we talked about
3.5
headlines.
Over under.
Yeah, see, that's what Jeff said. He thought 3 to 5. I think it'll be double that.
Ooh, okay. I hope not, man. That's going to be distracting. I'm sorry. I just think that's going to be distracting.
Well, that's assuming they're playing for a playoff, which we're all hoping.
Yeah.
Otherwise, who cares if you're distracted from the Chick-fil-A Bowl?
Right.
But also, I just we talked on headlines. We talked about it. I'm on the higher end. Jeff is on the lower end. I think Ira was somewhere in the middle. But Jeff thought 3 to 5. And I just think, and it also, like, what makes this different is that, in 2021 you had to replenish your roster with kind of whoever was interested in you. Anybody that was an able-bodied Division I-ish football player, because you just had holes everywhere, and you need to throw numbers at the problem. Well, now you can be a lot more choosy. But you also have a lot more really good choices. Like Florida State is going to be called the best player on Purdue's football team, or the best player on Washington State, or the 5 best players on UCLA, whatever. They are a destination program, especially for the portal kids after what's happened the last 2 years. They're a destination program, period. They're one of the best programs in the country. They're in Florida. Like, they're going to have to turn kids away, and they're going to have some really good football players that are going to express interest in them. And it's just going to be that balance of, okay, do we go get this really good linebacker from Purdue that we think can help us next year? And I'm just throwing that out there. I doubt Purdue has any good linebacker.
Say receiver from Purdue. Deion Burks is in the portal. He had like 47 catches, 7 scores. So
there we go. Deion, and you've done well with Big Ten kids. Yeah. So Deion Burks wants to come. Do you want to spend some time and some resources to get Deion Burks on campus? Or are you better off riding with Hakeem Williams, Destin Hill, Vandrevius Jacobs, and company? Guys that you have immense talent, we think, but have never done it. And that's the calculations that this staff is going to have to make when it comes to next season, because we all think that Florida State will take a step back next season. Not to 4 wins, but they're not going to be 12-0 again next year, probably. I mean, they're losing, I don't know, man, 90% of their – if Trey Benson leaves and Keon leaves and Johnny leaves and Jaheim Bell leaves, like, you're losing a ton of production. And you're going to have to replace it somewhere. But so anyway, they're not going to be as good next year. But they have a great recruiting class coming in. They had a good one last season. I am of the opinion they need one more stopgap year, hole-filling year with veteran players to keep them at the 9 to 10 win bar, and then the recruiting classes that you've built through the high school ranks really take off in 2025. Because you can't – no, I don't care if they have the number 1 class in the country in 2024. You can't expect – but a handful of those kids to really make an impact as true freshmen. So you're still going to need veteran bodies to keep this momentum going. So that's all. That'll be just, again, I don't know why I'm talking about that the week of a championship
Seriously,
game.
Come on.
Sorry.
Practice
but
observation.
It got me thinking. I don't have anything to observe, so that's why I pivoted. But it just got me thinking about what they're – and also Norvell did address it, like how crazy these next couple of weeks are going to be. Because it's out of control. You got the portal, you got the recruiting. National Signing Day is December 20th. The portal starts from December 4th and runs to what
January
you say,
2nd.
January 5th, January 2nd. Yeah. And you have an ACC championship game and perhaps a playoff game in the middle of all that. What a time.
But as Mike Norvell said, like, he embraces this responsibility, like being in this position. Yeah. To your point about having to be out in the freezing cold, relatively speaking, freezing cold, just means you're playing really meaningful football.
Beats the alternative, doesn't it?
And I was just trying to think about, and I'll throw something at you folks here in a minute or two about the practice, because I know that's what's in the headline of the podcast you're listening to right now. But I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, but I remember like waking up on Sunday and turning on the TV and seeing like the college football playoff show the Sunday after championship weekend where they announced the 4, and I'm like, man, we are so far away from this, but how awesome is it for these teams? Like, I'm so jealous of the Ohio State fan that gets to wake up and see if they still were able to get in there despite losing to Michigan. I'm jealous of the TCU fan that's like, man, are we going to be in here even though we lost the Big 12 championship game? And I'm like, man, Florida State's so far from that. I might have even thought of that last year, but I know for sure like 2 years ago. But here we are, man. Like, we're going to, we watched it last night, and then, fingers, toes crossed. Sunday's going to be really important too. So thanks, Mike. Appreciate it, man. Now I get a cool bowl gift at minimum, right? Probably a pullover, maybe a backpack.
No matter where they go, it's going to be a New Year's Six game, so you'll get something cool.
Yeah, not just a box of crackers.
Right, yeah. I'm trying to think of what
Cheez-It Bowl.
It's been a minute. It's been since the Orange Bowl in 2016. I've been to a cool bowl like that, so I can't remember what I got. The laptop bag, maybe.
Independence Bowl. Shout out. Walk-Ons gave you that nice Under Armour pullover, which I'm jealous of.
Have you lost
it?
I wore that a lot. I have. I don't know where it is, but I love that thing. That thing was great. It was actually the city itself. I'm on record. But the people that run the bowl really do care about it and try to make it as big time as it can possibly feel for that. So hopefully we'll never go back. But they did make them. They made it. As good as they possibly could. So and another thing I want to throw out at you, Aslan, something else we talked on headlines. Say Alabama beats Georgia.
Yes.
And everybody else wins that's supposed to win. Our Oregon
Favored.
wins. Yeah, Oregon, Texas, Michigan, Florida State.
Why not Washington? Is that part of your exercise?
Yeah, just part of the – well, either way, it doesn't matter. But
okay.
If Alabama beats Georgia and Texas wins and Florida State wins and Michigan wins, is the SEC left out?
Absolutely not. Nope. No way.
Who gets in?
Alabama would get in. I think Georgia –
Alabama can't get in over Texas.
Yes, they can.
They can't.
They can. I hope they do, and then I'm gonna have the funnest time on the show. Sans Florida State winning a national title, being like, "I told you so." That game happened 2 months ago. Jalen Miller was a completely different quarterback. That's a completely different team. I get it was in Tuscaloosa by 2 scores. No one does that. No one goes into Death Valley and beats Clemson either. It doesn't matter who's playing the best right now. Alabama's deserving of it if they beat the 2-time reigning national champions. Sorry,
after needing a miracle to beat a 6-6 team.
Hey, Florida State needed Clemson to miss a 32-yard field goal.
I'm saying
every team's got that though, Corey. Every team's got breaks that happen in the course of the season.
But they played each other. Why would Alabama get in? Who cares?
Because Texas hasn't looked that impressive other than Texas Tech last week.
They also had their backup quarterback.
Not against TCU.
They still got their starting quarterback back, and they lost a 1-score game in a neutral site against
where he turned it over 3 times. Their star quarterback turned it over 3 times.
Look, the point is they have equal resumes, and one beat the other. So you're assuming that Texas couldn't beat Georgia, but Texas beat Alabama, who beat Georgia. So maybe Texas would beat Georgia. But the point being, if that happens, Jeff is convinced that the SEC is left out. I'm not convinced, but I'm also not nearly as convinced as you are that there's no way it would happen. In sweet Moses, Aslan, how wonderful would it be if the last college football playoff with 4 teams, the SEC is left out? Would the world stop spinning? Would the sun come up tomorrow? Would people even care? Or would it get like NHL November ratings? I bet people would still watch Florida State, Michigan, Texas, Oregon. I bet they would. We don't have to have an. I just think it would be so sweet. I get that you're battling the scenario that. I just look. Texas, Alabama beat Georgia. They deserve to be in. But Texas beat Alabama. They don't deserve to be in, even though they have the same record. And they played not at a neutral site, but in Alabama. But that notwithstanding, I just think there is a possibility, not a distinct one, that the SEC would be left out. And, oh, mother of God, would that be wonderful? Would that just be the final, chef's kiss on the 4-team college football playoff? I would love it. If for nothing else, what happened 9 years ago, I would just love it. I would love it. I would embrace it. I would think it's very funny. I would tell every Georgia fan I know, yeah, you guys probably are better than Florida State. Yeah, Alabama would beat Florida State too, probably. Guess what? Have fun at the Cotton Bowl.
Maybe you guys can rematch, rubber match.
Yeah, play again. Run it back, gang. Run it back. But, yeah, that's what – I mean, there is a chance, right? You can't – I know you say absolutely not, but there is a chance that if Alabama beats Georgia, that it would be – again, Florida State still has to win. That is by far the most important thing. It could be Michigan, Florida State, Oregon, Texas. Wouldn't that be awesome?
I wonder if the Oregon-Washington thing would affect that outcome. Like if Washington's undefeated, Michigan's undefeated, Florida State's undefeated, then you have a 1-loss Georgia, 1-loss Alabama, 1-loss Texas. If that makes it murky.
I think it would make it murkier, and I think in that scenario, it just can't be Alabama. It would have to be Georgia or Texas.
No, it couldn't be Georgia probably in that situation because recency, you would say Texas beat Alabama. That was 2 months ago, so we're not going to put as much weight into it. You can't say, well, Georgia's had such a great season. They lost 48 hours ago. It's all right. We're still going to put them in.
You're right. That's why I would think it would have to be Texas if Texas won their game.
That's a cop-out kind of.
Yeah, like Texas. Well, we can't choose between Alabama and Georgia. Alabama just beat Georgia, but Texas beat Alabama.
You just
we'll go
convinced
with
me.
Texas.
I just changed my mind. I guess that's a scenario.
Yeah,
That's a scenario.
It's a dumb sport. I get it. We love it, but it's so stupid. It's so stupid that we have to have these conversations. It's so stupid that people think that a 13-0 undefeated Florida State team would be left out. But that's the conversations we have. But yeah, man, I talked about this on headlines because Ira's like, yeah, but then Georgia loses, and I'm like, man, I don't care. They've won 2 national championships in a row. Great, it was awesome. I have a bunch of friends that are Georgia fans. I went there. But
it's literally enough for a lifetime. I mean, they had one.
Yes,
for how many generations?
But also, nobody is going to be playing a violin for sad Georgia or Alabama fans. Oh no, we got a playoff without Georgia or Alabama and Ohio State. How will we ever survive? Next year, there's going to be 5 SEC teams in it. So it would be really funny and fitting, I think, and more ironic than fitting, that if there was a playoff scenario where there were no SEC teams.
What are the chances that if Alabama were to beat Georgia, Saban in the postgame at the podium in Atlanta would say that both the teams that played here on this field tonight deserve to be in the playoff?
100%. Yeah. That's what they do. 100%. I hope whoever loses the ACC championship game says the same thing. Like if it's Brom, he's like, look, I know we're 10-3. But we're the best 10-3 team in the country. We probably belong in there. Or if Norvell, same thing. Like it's only the SEC that gets away with that. The Pac-12 coach probably could do it too. If Washington loses, Oregon, what's my man's name? Dan Lanning would be like, yeah, I think Washington's one of the best teams in the country. Most conferences take care of themselves like that. But yeah, it's look, a lot of stuff has to happen. But Texas beating Oklahoma State certainly is reasonable. They're a 2-touchdown favorite. Oregon beating Washington, Florida State beating Louisville, and Michigan beating that
Hawkeyes.
offense. The Hawkeye, I know.
Come on, hey, man.
I know. I don't give them
American East farmers, man.
I can't. Yeah, and corn grows Iowa, and Iowa grows corn. I get it. But yeah, I think that would be awesome if that happened, because I just don't know how the committee could justify putting Alabama in over Texas. I know what you're saying, it happened 2 months ago, but games matter. I don't care when they're played. They're on the schedule. It's the regular season schedule. So they matter. And they played each other. So that's the ultimate tiebreaker. Everything being equal or close to equal, or even if you think Alabama's better, again, I think Texas beats Auburn by more than a 4th and 31, but I could be wrong. But either way, everything being equal, the teams that played each other, you take the team that won. And so you would do that with Alabama over Georgia. Well, you should do that for Texas over Alabama. And then poor little Nick Saban doesn't get to go win another championship. Or poor little Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart's been in the playoff 7 times? Probably since this thing started?
17 when they lost to Alabama. That was his first time.
Well, I'm talking about when he was the Alabama DC, too.
Oh, yeah.
14, 15, 16, 17, at least 21 and 20. So at least 6 times.
Yeah.
It'd be all right if he missed one. Yeah. We'd all get over it.
Do you know how much grief, I guess, diplomatically, I would say, every team that makes it in is going to take from Paul Feinbaum and whoever else ESPN will give airtime to come on and be like the contrarian? They'll be like, who did Michigan really beat? Yeah, they beat Ohio State, but Penn State, they beat them and before they fired their offensive coordinator, and they had a horrible offense, and Iowa can't score any points. And who did Washington beat? Oregon, they only have one quality win. That's against a Washington team that they lost to earlier in the year. Yeah. Why did they get in? Who's Florida State beat? They haven't beat a ranked team. It's they beat Louisville, but it's going to be
that's who cares? Yeah. Who cares? And luckily next year
we'll be in Pasadena sipping on some daiquiris or something.
Hopefully we'll be in New Orleans, my man. That's what we're hoping for. And next year the argument will be who's 12th? LSU?
It's like Ole Miss and Penn State fighting to get into the playoffs.
Which in those instances, literally who cares? I know literally is too strong a word, and a lot of people care. I care. I do this for a living. But it's Ole Miss has 2 losses. Penn State has 2 horrible losses. No, you're not going to feel sorry.
Penn State's got 2 horrible losses.
No, I mean the way they looked on offense. Okay. Just the way they looked. Sorry, they're good. They're good. They're the very good teams they lost
quality
to.
Levels.
Quality, the most quality. They have the best losses. But yeah, you wouldn't feel sorry for Penn State. It's man, you had 2 chances to at least look competent offensively against these 2 upper tier programs, and you failed miserably both times. Ole Miss, you can't stop anyone. And they would. I'm not saying they wouldn't deserve to go because somebody has to go. But you would. The arguments next year and moving forward, and Florida State fans will be a part of this most likely for the foreseeable future, is seeding. If you're good enough, you're going to be the arguments for Florida State next year. We had a 12-team playoff right now, Florida State would be playing for a first-round bye. That's what this game on Saturday night would represent.
Home game, I think, right?
Well, no, they get a bye.
Oh, bye week. Right,
yeah, it'd be a bye. The first 4 get a bye. The next 4 get a home game. So 5 to 8 get a home game. So that will be the 8-9 games. Those differences will be magnified. But only because who gets to host the game. But yeah, like Florida State fans, you'd be like, okay, even if you lose to Louisville, you're probably going to host a playoff game in the first round. So it's going to be put yourself in there, folks. Like, think about if there was a 12-team playoff right now. If Florida State loses, they might drop out of the top 8, and then they're on the road for the first round of the playoffs. And if they win, they get a bye. Like, that's what these games will mean.
Louisville will be fighting for their lives on Saturday night.
Yes, correct. They'd be fighting for a spot in the playoff. Georgia and Alabama would be fighting for a bye. The other team would be certainly hosting a first-round game, but they wouldn't get a bye. So there will be stakes, but the stakes aren't as high as like this week where if Florida State loses, they have no chance to win a championship. If Georgia loses, maybe they have no chance. If Oregon or Washington lose, absolutely they know. Like, the Oregon-Washington game is a playoff game.
It's an eliminator, yeah.
It's an eliminating game. Florida State can get eliminated. Obviously Michigan can get eliminated. Like, every team that's playing right now this week, if they lose, other than Georgia, what about Michigan? What if Michigan lost to Iowa?
What if all the favorites lost, Corey?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even want to go down that path. But I think Georgia, maybe Michigan, but I think Georgia is the only one that if they lose, they still think they have a fighting shot.
Yes.
Everybody else playing this weekend, if they lose, they know the season's not over, but the championship dreams are done. That's cool, man. That's cool. I said it yesterday. Man, you're in a playoff right now. This is a playoff game. You lose, you get to keep playing for a championship. You win, you get to keep playing for a championship. You lose, New
Year's Six Bowl. Get
on with the roster retention. Like, that's where you turn your attention to. So pretty neat to have these kind of stakes at this part of the season. Next year will just feel different because almost all these teams playing this week, Texas would be pretty good, pretty secure, win or lose. Obviously, Michigan, win or lose. Georgia, Alabama, maybe both get into the playoff next year. There won't be the stakes won't be as high, but there'll still be stakes because you're going to want to either host a home playoff game or get that first round bye.
28 minutes into the show, you're here for practice observation, and maybe I actually ended up deleting it from the headline.
I hope you did because, again, I showed up an hour.
Well,
I don't think that's true.
It's not on you. It's not on.
And I think I showed up an hour. I don't think I showed up about an hour late to practice, and it was a short practice, so I don't have a lot to offer.
Well,
I'm trying to think of anything.
I'm just trying to tell people there that you're here to hear, like, all right, Tate looked really good. He's picking it up better. We're going to be better. The 30-point threshold is back. That's what Florida State does. Minimum 30, maybe the 40 burger. Not going to say. I'm not going to say that. I'm not making that assessment yet. I'm not making any declarations.
Smart.
One more day of practice. We'll see how it comes along. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It was Tate. So we'll give it another day and see how it looks. But I think the number right now is like 50, 52 maybe, Corey.
No, it's like it's under 50. It's like 48 or 49.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Yep.
So, and it's what, like 2.5? It's even getting tighter than that. So it feels like a 24-21-ish kind of game, 27-24, which I don't know who really would want that.
Right now Florida State is minus 2.5, and the over/under is 48.5.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right, like 25-23, somewhere in that neighborhood.
But I'm sure some people out there are like, who's going to, no one's going to score 24 on this defense. And it's like, man, it's late in the season. It's a neutral site. It's cold. Jeff Brom's going to he's going to throw everything he has at this team. And then when your offense maybe is not as efficient, as effective as it has been, they just create some situations where the defense, maybe is in less favorable positions to get off the field as quickly as they usually do. So
It's a real team they're
it's
playing.
It's going to be a
man.
stressful game.
That's why they're 2.5-point favorites. It's not a 20-point spread. Louisville can play, and I would say Louisville. Sorry.
Thank you.
Is I don't know, man. I know they're not the best team Florida State has played.
You want comparison? 5 common opponents. Louisville scored 172. Florida State scored 159. Louisville has allowed 100 points. FSU has allowed 93 to the same 5 common opponents. So the margin of victory for Florida State's been 13.2 points in their victories against the 5 common opponents. Louisville's has been 14.4. Common opponents: Boston College, Pitt, Virginia Tech, Duke, and Miami.
And Louisville lost to Pitt. Yeah.
Yeah, although they played Duke without Riley Leonard. Florida State had Riley Leonard with 1 foot for 3 quarters.
But they also played Miami with Tyler Van Dyke.
That is true.
And Florida State did not, although, in hindsight, that was a bad decision by Cristobal. But that's what I was going to say. I think if you look at this Louisville team, it's probably the most complete, and I'm not saying it's the best, it's the most complete team they've played. Not great on either side of the ball, but competent on either side of the ball. So think about the best teams that Florida State has played. LSU, incredible offense, it turns out. A horrible defense. Maybe the worst defense in the SEC, one of the worst defenses of any top 15 team I've ever seen. They're horrible. Like A&M put up yards and points on them. A&M with a third-string quarterback. They're awful defensively. Clemson, incredible defense. Not a good offense at all. They just beat South Carolina without scoring an offensive touchdown. Oh. I mean, that offense is a wreck. Just like their offense is almost as bad as LSU's defense. So,
and then Miami, I think Miami's more athletic on the lines of scrimmage.
Yeah,
than
I think
Louisville,
Miami's the most
disciplined and sound. Louisville is than Miami.
They are, and I think Miami is probably the most similar because of the line of scrimmage. But Miami was starting a true freshman quarterback on the road. You're playing a guy that's in his 6th year in a neutral site. And again, you played Florida, who probably has a better offense overall than Louisville. But, they were starting a freshman quarterback making his first start. So that's what makes this game kind of unique. And the Cardinals are – I'm going to just start calling them the Cardinals because I'm tired of saying the city. That's what makes them such a tough team to, kind of figure out. Or project what this game is going to go like, because they do have playmakers. They do have a pretty good defense, and they do have a pretty good offense. And you have not faced that at all this year. You faced some pretty good defenses, and you faced, an electric offense to start the season, but not a team that's pretty good on both sides of the ball. And so that's why I think this is going to be a really good test, a really big test. It's probably, like I said, probably the most complete team you've seen all season. And you're doing it with the backup quarterback in a championship game. So if you win it, it's a great win. And again, I know they just lost to Kentucky. Kentucky had 280 yards of total offense in that game. Kentucky loves to run the ball. They pride themselves on running the ball. They have a very good running back. They had 80 yards rushing against Louisville. They're tough. They're physical, and they're well coached, and they have a competent offense, which you have not faced a competent. When was the last good offense you faced, Aslan?
Oh, man. Jeez. Cheese and crack. I mean, Duke, but they had one-legged quarterback.
Yeah, and they weren't even good on offense, but he had both legs. No. They had the best defense. They have a better defense, I think, than Louisville, but Louisville has a better offense. So, anyway, the point being, this is a real game. This is a great test. And if they are able to beat Louisville, that's a great accomplishment, especially for like I said, a team that has struggled to run the ball at times this year and is playing a backup quarterback. They're going to need Tate to play well. This will not be a game, in my opinion, when we're talking about the points, the race, what you're trying to get to first. This can't be a game like the Swamp where you're like, man, just get us to 20. We can win this game because that quarterback isn't going to be able to score a lot of points against us.
Right.
The Louisville's score on everyone. They can score points. He's going to give you a couple of turnovers probably. He's going to make some crazy decisions. But they can score. They can run the ball. They have 2 good running backs. They have a pretty good offensive line. They're a test. They're a real test. So I'm fired up for it, man. This isn't like the 13 Duke game. Or even the 14 Georgia Tech game where you knew you were going to score a ton of points against that defense. This is it could be a real nail-biter, gang. It's fun, though.
First game of the year, Florida State goes into the game not having the superior quarterback?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, look, man, Jordan Travis outplayed the Heisman winner that night.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say so, absolutely. And he might be, and I don't say this lightly, and I don't think he's very good. He still might be the second best quarterback you faced all season.
Yeah.
Castellanos probably is. Maybe the Drones kid ends up being really good, but they were both freshmen making like their second start and their third start. And this guy is making his, 100th start. Who knows? He's been around Brom forever. And he's not very good. I'm not saying he's great. It's just that there aren't a lot of great quarterbacks out there, but only one has been on your schedule, and you face them the first week of September. So it's going to be a step up in competition for the defense. But, man, this defense has risen to the challenge every week. It's gotten hit in the mouth. It's gotten knocked down a few times. It's always stood back up and won the game. And I just feel it's going to have to do that again in Charlotte. It's going to have to play very, very well for Florida State to win this game, because I don't expect Tate and the offense to go put up, like you said, a 40-burger. I don't see that happening. So the defense will have to play well on Saturday night, which why wouldn't they? They've been doing it all year.
Do you like Vitamin Energy, Corey?
I love it. I need some. I need some mood. Need some mood in my life.
Brady giving you problems?
Well, I'm about to go back up there. Like we're recording this, and then I'm driving up to Atlanta, so I gotta gird myself for dealing with a 15-year-old for the next few days.
All right, well, you can stop by the Midtown offices. We got, I think, maybe one more box left of the Mood Plus.
Okay.
So I'll help you out there. Tastes delicious. 260 milligrams of all-natural caffeine, as well as nutrients and antioxidants to help improve your mood. And it's not just some guy with a microphone in his guest room telling you that. Vitamin Energy is the world's first and only clinically proven energy shot. 75% of folks in the 14-day clinical trial agreed that they were able to focus and concentrate better after the shot. 64% felt that the shots were a great mood booster. So maybe you want to try it. You're curious, as you should be. Use a promo code WORCHANT BOGO. WORCHANT, BOGO. Buy one item, get one of equal or lesser value for absolutely free. VitaminEnergy.com. Energy with benefits. Shake it and take it. WORCHANT BOGO is the promo code.
Number 5 is still blank. Number 4 is still blank. He's pacing on the right side of the screen. Could they do it? Will they do it? Or are they going to be sensible? And they will be sensible. Number 5 is Oregon. Number 5, the Oregon Ducks. That means Florida State will slide in nicely to the number 4 spot with an inside track to the college football playoff. And won't that be something? If they get the job done this weekend against Louisville, we'll see how the top 3 shakes out. You certainly can't move Washington past Michigan after their performance this weekend, in which they needed a field goal to win the Apple Cup over what became a 5-7 Washington State team. So I would expect to see Florida State here at 4. Personally, Aslan, I'd have Florida State at 3. That's just me. But it should be FSU 4, Washington 3, Michigan 2, and Georgia 1, with fireworks to come. It's been 9 years since we've covered this weekend with any extra intrigue. And were you at either the 2010, 12, 13, or 14 ACC championship games?
No, never been to Charlotte for this one.
Really? Okay. So what is it that you expect to see this weekend in terms of maybe a crowd split? Louisville they're having an exceptional year. Their head coach might very well win ACC Coach of the Year with what Jeff Brom was able to do. I would think it's going to be heavily Florida State out there in Charlotte this weekend, though, in terms of a split.
70-30 Noles, I'm thinking, 70-30.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be 100% capacity, though, but in terms of the public body that'll be out there. But, yeah, there we go. Noles 4, Washington 3. So
there you go. If the season ended today, they love to do this in professional sports. If the season ended today, folks, Florida State would be playing Georgia in New Orleans. Ooh, that would be
not ideal.
With a second-string quarterback, find a way by hook or crook this weekend, Aslan, to get me to the Rose Bowl and play in Michigan. That's what we're rooting for. Oregon now. The path is clear. You can see it clear as day. Friday night, we're all Ducks fans. Take care of business on Saturday, and let's go play Michigan in the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day. I think that's what we want. Everybody except Corey, who does not want to hop into a vehicle, and it won't be a plane, to get from one side of the country to the other. He's not waffling on that, is he? Is he going to get on a plane for this?
No, he's dug his heels in. He's driving. He's going to use all the karma and all the pull he has in the world to get Florida State in the Sugar Bowl. So
Kirk Herbstreit's on the screen now. I'm sure he's saying that Florida State should be number 9 in the country. That's okay. That's fine. They're number 4. The committee says number 4. And they moved quickly tonight and briskly because, as Aslan tells us, they've got basketball coming up. So we now welcome in here in just a moment. I see he's put the cans over the ears. Our own Gene Williams, founder and administrator of warchant.com, is going to join us with instant reaction as Florida State is now back into the field. They've done what they needed to do, 12-0. I cannot see. And we'll bring him on in just a second, and I'll tee him up for this question. But Gene, there he is. Gene, I cannot foresee a way in which Florida State now drops out of the top 4 with a win this weekend. Can you? Come on.
Well, I was shocked when you guys mentioned Herbie when he came out. I was trying to listen to his comments as you were bringing me on there, so I apologize for being a little ill-prepared there. But it was funny. It was like a concession speech. He was conceding that even Florida State's in if they win. He goes, because he said Washington, Oregon are going to take care of each other, and of course they have to be in at that point. So the fact that he is even saying that tells me, the slight little bit of fear we had in the back of our minds, I can't see it. Sure, we'll be a little nervous. It's like the selection show. You just want to make sure you're in for basketball. You're in if you win the game. Of course, we would rather look. I think Oregon's going to win. I don't know if you guys have brought that up yet. I think Oregon's the better team. I think they're going to win it, so everything's moot. I think Georgia's going to win too. So, I mean, all this so-called nightmare scenario, I think, is all going to be completely moot anyway. FSU is going to be in. The thing is, take care of business. Win the ACC championship, good things will happen. What I'm curious, and I think we all agree sometimes there's a little bit of shenanigans involved in the committee and kind of how things are placed. I'm curious because the lowest seed or the highest seed, I want to say, gets the choice of venue. Mm-hmm. And at this point, I'm guessing Georgia will be number 1. Yeah. So I assume then they would pick – if they beat Alabama, I can't see anybody jumping them. I mean, Michigan beating Iowa, come on.
Yeah, it's not strong enough. Yeah,
so
correct.
It's not. So they're going to pick the Sugar Bowl. Where are they going to put – and that means Michigan will obviously want to be – and Michigan wants to be in the Rose Bowl anyway, but you would want that Pac-12 team to be out there with them. Yes. Right? So, I mean, that it sure looks like it's setting up for Florida State. Corey's going to get his wish, Florida State, Georgia, if they win in the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, well, it's almost, Gene, like Kirk didn't believe what he was saying a week ago when we were on here because there's a concession speech now. It's almost like it was more Hollywood than anything else. But really? I would say, guys, and Aslan, your thoughts on this, but for me, a personal rooting guide for this weekend starts Friday night, and it starts with Oregon. Because if Oregon wins, Florida State gets off of the seed line with Georgia. I know that what Gene's talking about, where they might like to pair teams if they possibly could. Yeah. But I think by merit alone, having 0 in the loss column, Washington would lose and be moved out of it. I think Florida State being a number 3 seed gets them a matchup with Michigan. If you're trying to survive the semifinals, you've got to do so by avoiding Georgia. You don't want to play Georgia with Tate Rodemaker at quarterback. So for me, the personal rooting guide, it would be Oregon over Washington. Do you agree, or do you say, nonsense, bring me all that noise? Because if they can beat Georgia, then they can beat anybody. Might as well get them out of the way.
Yeah, get them out of the way early, right? And just coast into the national championship game. No, I'm with you. Yeah, Oregon beats Washington in the Pac-12 championship game. Florida State moves to number 3. Oregon sneaks into number 4, and then that puts number 2 Michigan playing number 3 Florida State in Pasadena. And that is, I know you're not going to have nearly the amount of crowd support you would have if you were in New Orleans, but man, I'll take less support, less talented team over more fan support facing the more talented team in Georgia. So, and another interesting thing too about the, Gene's doomsday scenario that I talked about too, about Alabama maybe being able to jump in there if they beat Georgia as an SEC champion, and then Georgia staying in there as well. Ohio State dropped 4 spots losing to Michigan. So I think if Georgia were to lose, Georgia's going to drop enough spots to where they would, SEC champion is going to make it, and it's just going to be that singular team representing that conference, I would think, based on what Ohio State's dropped to now.
Yeah, Gene, 2-part question. Number 1, would you agree that we're all rooting for Oregon on Friday night? And then secondly, let's say Alabama does score the upset Saturday evening. Let's just say they do. But Texas also wins the Big 12. Do you think that the committee could possibly, in that scenario, elevate Alabama past a Texas team that it lost to by multiple scores at home? Or would the SEC be left out of the college football playoff in 2023? What do you think?
Do we live in a world where the SEC champion is going to be left out of the playoffs? I wish we did, and we probably should, because in that scenario, Tom, I think you're right. And we've had the discussion about LSU, how they've kind of discounted that game because it happened in September. I hate that. Those games need to matter, or why schedule? Just schedule a bunch of bums in September if they're irrelevant. That game happened. Alabama got schooled at home by Texas. That's the head-to-head Texas should be in. I don't think that there's any argument against that, except for the SEC bias. And, if you meet the mighty Georgia, a two-time chance by default, if you beat them, if you beat the champion, you're in. I'll realize that's probably what's going to happen, even though that should not happen. And I'm sorry, what else did you?
The other was just Oregon. You agree? Like, get away from Georgia in the semifinals.
I love a matchup against Michigan.
Yeah.
I want to. You get to the finals. Sure, it's mighty Georgia. If that ends up happening in that scenario, I'm fine. Man, you get the finals. Michigan doesn't scare me. I think FSU's defense has played well enough. That game's going to be close going into the fourth quarter. Give me Florida State against any team in the fourth quarter. We've seen how well they play, how resilient they are. I would love to see that scenario against a Michigan team. I think FSU wins that going in. So put in a one game, anything can happen. So I'm all for that scenario. Again, I think they're going to find a way. I just can't see them not matching up a Pac-12 in a Big Ten team. But it would be weird to see Oregon jump Florida State. Yep. But knowing what the committee's done in the past, I can't say it would shock me, because they say, well, FSU's in. They really can't complain.
Well, here's that situation. How about this situation, guys? Oregon and Alabama win. Michigan wins. Florida State wins. Michigan's 1. Florida State is 2. Mm-hmm. Bama jumps Oregon for 3. Then you have Florida State, Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. And then you have Michigan number 1, Oregon number 4 in Pasadena in the Rose Bowl. Could you see Alabama, if they were to win, Oregon were to win? Do you think Oregon stays ahead of them? I think Alabama's win over Georgia would be maybe more impressive than Oregon beating Washington, and that would perhaps give Alabama a little bit of a nudge. And then that way, you're Florida State, you're in the Sugar Bowl, you're playing not Georgia, and then Gene gets the Pac-12 Big Ten sort of matchup that historically these folks like arranging.
I think for that to happen, Texas would need to lose to Oklahoma State. Like, Texas is just this. I mean, they're a huge thorn in the paw.
I agree. You can't discount that. Yeah,
but that's not inconceivable. That's not inconceivable at all. I know that Oklahoma State has looked inconsistent at best, the most kindest way of putting it, the last month. But I mean, Texas has been susceptible to a big letdown even this year. That the way they lost to Oklahoma is just crazy. That first half they imploded. They almost found their way back. So it's within them to do that. And I get Zachary's point. I see him in the chat. He says, worry about Louisville first. Like, all of this supposes that there is a win on Saturday, and that's fair. I think if I was ranking, let's just say, the top 3 most compelling games this weekend, as in you're in the fourth quarter and people are sweating bullets, Florida State's probably going to make the cut on that list. I think, Michigan, Iowa is going to be relatively boring in more ways than one. Iowa can't score, and that might be it might be 14-6, but it feels like 40-6, even if Iowa's defense comes to play. I think that if you're looking for another blowout, Oregon might win by multiple scores on Friday night. And, I think the SEC game is very compelling. I think the Big 12 could be compelling. It has been historically the last few years. And I think we're in for a dogfight on Saturday. I'll reverse the order. Gene, back to you. What do you think in terms of we're going to be on the edge of our seats at a bar or in the press box, respectively, for you and Aslan? Like, which games do you think are going to be the ones that people are sweating bullets over as they get down to the nitty gritty?
I mean, those are the 2 games, obviously. I mean, the Alabama Georgia game, just because there's always the fear in the back of our minds. It's like that trauma as a child or something. It's always sitting there waiting to come out that somehow they're going to screw FSU. But you can put 2 SEC teams in. I don't think there's no scenario that happens if FSU wins Saturday. I don't see. Again, I was one of the ones who said maybe there's a 5% chance. I see there's like a 0.001% chance if that happened. But that's still, there's still that slight thing. So that I really agree with that. I don't know. What's the line on Oregon Washington, Tom, right now?
I'll pull that up, but I'll ask you
9.5 last I saw.
What was it?
9.5 Oregon favored.
Yeah.
Wow. But here's the thing, and this is why I think if there's going to a one-loss team's going to jump Florida State, in my mind, Oregon is the only one that can do it. And the reason why is look at their resume. Look at who they beat, and they've blown out good ranked teams. Washington can't say that. Alabama they lost again, multiple touchdowns at home to a good team, but nobody. I mean, if anybody saw that first Oregon-Washington game, it was a barn burner. Either team could have won that, and that was obviously a quality loss. I hate to use that phrase, but it was. I've been really impressed with Oregon. If that scenario and they go out and win by a couple touchdowns, Tom, it would not shock me to see them jump FSU to number 3. But yeah, but I think they will wiggle. That's wiggle room for them, so they can try to get that Pac-12 Big Ten matchup in the Rose Bowl.
MyBookie.ag, promo code WARCHANT. What do I get if I use the promo code, Aslan? You get a 110% instant cash deposit bonus. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. You can use it on their live casino. You can do live in-game betting, or you can go ahead and be a true sportsman and make your picks before the game actually kicks off. As we sit here and talk and hang out as a family together, Florida State is a 2.5-point favorite over Louisville. It was 5.5 48 hours ago. The total, 48.5. I think Corey mentioned that earlier in the show. So if you're one of those, Florida State just scores 30 points all the time, it's what they do. Although they haven't done it like 3 out of the last 4 times. You might want to pound the over. I don't know. I just think like 27-21 Florida State wins. That's 48, so it gets you under. But who wants to root for an under? You do what you want. It's your money. Just use the promo code WARCHANT. Get that instant cash deposit bonus. Also, Florida State plus 2,500 to win the whole darn thing. So check it out. Peruse. MyBookie.ag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere.
By extension, Aslan, really quickly, same question also. CGAP Blitz, thank you very much. Worried about Louisville. So thank you very much again, CGAP. But are you worried about Louisville this weekend? And does the ACC championship make your cut of maybe the games that are going to go down to the wire, highest ratings, most compelling, et cetera?
Yeah, I thought the Florida game was going to be stressful in the fourth quarter. So Louisville's a little bit better everywhere. Obviously, you're not in the swamp, though, so maybe that mitigates a little bit of it. But I'm fully expecting it to be a stressful game in the fourth quarter. But I'd have to squint and really try to be contrarian to say that I think Florida State's going to lose the game. I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't work out in their favor, but they've just done everything right for 13 weeks of this season so far. And hard to imagine them being this close to the finish line and stubbing their toe. So, yeah, concerned about Louisville. I mean, they're 15th or whatever they're ranked right now. And, yeah, it's going to be a fourth quarter game, but this team has just shown the ability to win games, as, Gene mentioned earlier in the show, and the defense bows up. So I'll ride with them.
You have a pick for a Friday or Saturday night where you say, I wouldn't be stunned if this other upset occurs. Would it be in Atlanta? Would it be Big 12? Where would you look?
Man, I almost want to zag and get on the Washington wagon. Looking at Oregon's schedule, Oregon's I think they've only beaten Oregon. Oregon State's the only team that Oregon has defeated that's still ranked. I think Colorado might have been ranked when they beat up on them really badly. Ryan Russillo, shout out to him, researched that 7 common opponents between Oregon and Washington. Washington's beat those 7 common opponents by an average of 9 points. Oregon's beat them by like 20 points. So to Gene's point about Oregon being that much more dominant, but yeah, I don't think Oregon's going to do enough to jump that far ahead of a undefeated Florida State team just because they finally have beaten Washington. But I couldn't say I see that coming. I don't think Oklahoma State will play maybe Texas close, but if I have to pick an upset based on the betting line, maybe Alabama figures something out. Maybe Jalen Milroe is just a little too much a handle for Georgia, but I know that sounds crazy considering they needed 4th and goal from the 31 to win. So
you never know though, because wasn't it New Mexico State Auburn the week before? So it's been a wild year.
Somebody's going to get got though, right, guys? Sorry, Tom, but somebody's going to get got. Like not all the favorites are going to win on Friday and Saturday. I don't think so. I guess that's your point. Like who is it then?
How about
isn't it shocking that there's this many undefeated teams? We're going into the playoffs. It's never happened before. We did the first one of these, and I go, "There's going to be an upset. This is all going to be moot." It's not.
Yeah,
this is nuts. And they're favored, except for Washington. I mean, that would be the only one that would have to upset their game for this whole scenario of all these undefeated teams to continue. It's nuts. And for our game, look, I'm throwing out the first quarter and a half of Tate, the first start down in the swamp. It's tough. I think you're going to get what you got for 2.5 quarters. I think a competent quarterback, good play, good defense. I like FSU in the game. We'll get our picks later in the week. I'm sure during the War Chant report, we'll have those come out. but I like them. But I also dislike the fact that Louisville played a horrible game the game before, because you see these ebb and flow teams, they always bounce back and play a better game the next week. So I wish I would have had a big emotional close win against Kentucky and then roll into this game. It didn't happen that way.
Yeah, where are you on that, Tom? I agree with Gene too, but I also kind of felt that was the case with Florida last week too. Like, I thought them losing to Missouri was actually maybe like a blessing in disguise for the Gators and not a good thing for Florida State. I don't know if they would have played any worse had they beaten Missouri, but I'm with Gene. I feel like Louisville is going to, and if they can beat Florida State, they'll win an ACC championship, first ever in school history. They have a lot on the line. They have a lot to play for. So I'm expecting like a better Louisville team than had they actually won Kentucky. Where are you on that one?
Yeah, I agree with that. If you look at common opponents between Florida State and Louisville has a pretty decent resume in those situations. The only thing is, a few of those times, like Miami is the most glaring example, they played the common opponent right after Florida State did. And so like playing Miami the week after FSU beats them in a nail biter down the stretch, one in which they lose their quarterback in the fourth quarter. They might have a little bit of an emotional letdown, a physical letdown. So maybe that has something to do with Louisville getting to 38 points more than their offense being much better. That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is Tate Rodemaker will never face as much adversity as he did last week. You have the ball for 3 plays in the first quarter. It's in the swamp. You got to do all these things emotionally to get over a hurdle and go finish and make a few throws to win the game. And he did. He should be freed up to play this particular game this weekend. The other way to look at it is who's got more pressure on them? Oh, it's easy. It's Florida State. Louisville has absolutely zero pressure to win this game. If they win it, they go to a New Year's Six Bowl. If they don't, they don't. But you know what? They've accomplished their goals. If you're Jeff Brom, year one as the head coach, you've completely accomplished your goals. The group feels fine about itself, even if they don't come away with a win on Saturday. Florida State is protecting a college football playoff berth. Louisville is playing spoiler. So there's a lot of indicators that would point to Louisville playing more free than Florida State, but that's why they play these games. It's just going to be so freaking fascinating. And I love that it's the crescendo, and it is up against the time slot of Michigan and Iowa. That's not the game of the weekend. That's not even close to the game of the weekend. Hopefully it's Iowa 9, Michigan 7, and that's our surprise. But nobody's going to want to watch that for 3.5 hours. Our game is going to be a big one. Think about how many one-loss teams, Gene, are going to be watching this game, hoping against hope that Louisville can open the door for their playoff berth, because as 2014 Ohio State proved, all you got to do is get in. And if you do, you never know what can happen.
And you brought up that scenario, which would be completely wacky if Iowa wins. And look, when you've got 2 defensive teams, they're going to play a close game, a turnover here or there, and suddenly Iowa wins. And you want to talk about just throwing everything amok at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, Texas could be, who knows? FSU could end up as a number 1 seed playing Texas or something in the first round. How crazy would that be? But it's in the scenario, it's possible.
Sign me up for that. I'll take on the Horns on Bourbon Street.
Horns in New Orleans, that'd be fun.
That would be epic. And you know what? Yeah, I'm here to say it. Florida State would score at least 35. I just don't know that it would be enough. But that Texas defense is very gettable. Oh, man. It's so much fun to be able to have these scenarios play out in your head. And like Z-Chan was saying, and we appreciate the official DMD of Warchant TV for saying every scenario includes us in the playoffs. We love that. Thank you for your contributions, Z-Chan. Yeah, there is a distinct possibility that Saturday does not go Florida State's way. But it would be an upset, even with Tate at quarterback, Aslan. It would be an upset. You were out there at practice today. I can't imagine that they were resting on their laurels at practice, and Mike Norvell allowed the focus to let up even one bit. I think they might have gone a little bit shorter today for preservation purposes, but they were intense and ready to go, were they not?
Yeah, it looked and felt like a normal practice that doesn't, unfortunately, have Jordan Travis out there leading the offense. But it was a little bit shorter, but they were still banging around. They were still running their 11-on-11 stuff. I'm not going to make any declarations on Tate and, this hope, this theory that, football teams make their biggest growth from week 1 to week 2, game 1 to game 2, hoping you see that same kind of jump out of Tate. Give me one more day at practice to see how he's able to perform on Wednesday. We'll be out there, Ira, myself, Matt, and we'll see if maybe there's some more stuff kind of clicking for him. But again, man, this is just pretty evenly matched up teams. From where they're at right now. And this is probably the first team that's got, I don't know, do you have to go back to Jaden Daniels that they've played a competent quarterback? Or maybe Kyron Drones to a certain degree, but it was his 3rd start of the season. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see if this defense can kind of keep up what they've been doing against a team that's got a pretty good offensive line of scrimmage and then a quarterback who still makes some mistakes, but might be able to make a few more plays than a true freshman like Emory Williams or a true, redshirt freshman like Max Brown. So
we want to thank Kayvon as well. Thank you very much, Kayvon, for the contribution. 50 Canadian. We love it. Across the border. Noles, Warchant TV or worldwide. Gene, we're going to wrap it up here shortly, but just your concern level for this weekend. I'm talking about your concern that it doesn't go Florida State's way. And let's put it relative to something else. Last week's game on the road in the Swamp, were you more concerned about the 12th game of the season, or are you more concerned about this championship game against what on paper definitely is a more talented Louisville team?
That's actually pretty easy. And again, this is being an old school guy who's been around for a while and seen these rivalries. The state championship is means so much more. I mean, you got to live with these guys. And I think for recruiting, it's so important. And for the long-term health of the program, you needed to win that game. And you're nervous going, obviously, Tate making that start in the Swamp. And we've all been there. And I know you, Aslan, you and you guys talked about how you could tell until you're there, you really can't appreciate it. And I hate to give them credit for anything, but that is an incredible atmosphere when they're getting after it. So for FSU to go down there and keep them from being bowl eligible, and you got the next iteration of Willie Taggart down there about on the hot seat now, and it's going to help you in recruiting. It's so big. This would be the cherry on top to win the ACC championship. Everything else is complete gravy in my mind. Whatever happens after that, it'd be great. So, but I mean, to beat Miami, to beat Florida, you've done it 2 years in a row. It says so much about what the staff, how far this program has come. It would suck because you wouldn't technically be regular season ACC champs, but not technically ACC champs. So it would suck. But I really don't think it would affect this program's health long term. Where I think losing that game down in the Swamp, wouldn't have been great for everybody.
Aslan, what do you think? This game is going to be tougher. I mean, again, if you look at accomplishments and power ratings and efficiency ratings, Louisville's the tougher opponent. But the circumstance matters. Where the game is kicked off matters. It was in Gainesville last week. How would you rank your concern level last week, where you correctly pointed a nip and tuck game versus this one against Louisville?
Man, I just think it's going to be a stressful game in the fourth quarter, right? To Gene's point, I don't want to spend one more second than we have to talking about how tough it is to play in the Swamp, but like that, they were getting after it, man. That was a really hectic, lubed up environment. And for Tate to keep his poise after some of those early struggles is really a testament to just how mature he is and how dialed in he was. But I'll take, I'd rather be in that kind of environment than playing a team that seemingly is a little bit more sound, a little bit more disciplined. I think maybe athletically Florida's more gifted than Louisville is. But I think Jeff Brom's a much better game day coach, much better program builder than Billy Napier. I think he'll keep his guys kind of calm and confident. And that game was still in the balance when, Tate slides and two guys decide to go headhunting on a really bizarre kind of decision. Not to say the Louisville's West Point here, but just feel that maybe they won't shoot themselves in the foot as much as Florida did and won't make it nearly as easy for him. Plus, I guess, maybe the line being 2.5 also kind of portends to that a little bit as well.
It's unfortunate that Heiser and his crew didn't allow for a double targeting to be called, because I think that would have been the first spit ejection, double targeting ejection in the history of college football. And Florida could have made history on their way to not playing in a bowl game. So that would have been fun. C-Dale, thank you very much for the contribution. I'm so tired when people say we shouldn't be in if we win Saturday. Michigan has been trash in the playoffs the last 2 years, and they got beat by the TCU team that got pummeled by Georgia last year. Fair point, C-Dale. I mean, I think this is what tonight was about, guys, as we're closing it down here. The noise was down here with a cloud of Sports Center anchors and random Twitter people telling you Florida State doesn't belong in the top 4. And now, after this program, even Kirk, who was leading the charge to a degree, you win and you're in. You win and you're in. There's no more noise here. Win on Saturday night and you're in. Does anybody take issue with that on the panel tonight, Gene?
Nope. Like I said, the small scintilla of fear I had has evaporated. Thank you, Kirk. I mean, the fact that he gave up the leading the charge tells me that. Again, to that last post, man, that's why we want Michigan. We've seen this story before. We've seen what happens when a Big Ten team plays a faster, more athletic Southern team, and I could see that play out again. I guess they have seen Keon Coleman. I'm guessing he probably did really well when he played against Michigan, because they don't see guys like that in the Big Ten. They don't see guys with the speed of Trey Benson. So I'm hoping we get to that point. We get to have that discussion. But Yeah, no, I think they're in at this point. It would be some completely wacky scenario. I don't know. Maybe FSU wins 2-0 and all the other teams below everyone out. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that happens. There's a drive. They're saying with the weather's supposed to be bad. Maybe it's a driving rainstorm and it looks awful. Who knows?
Aslan, we go to Charlotte all the time. It's usually in July. Now we get to do so in December. You're looking at this one and saying tunnel vision, right? And be entertained by the other football games, but if Florida State wins, then start booking your arrangements for January 1st in the playoff, yeah?
Yeah, I don't know what's happened to me here, like in the last 24, 36 hours, but like, I'm being honest, man, like I'm not playing TV, I'm not playing radio on here. Like part of me was really concerned that if, I think Alabama beating Georgia to me would be that scenario where both of those teams would get in. Listen, I don't care about the Alabama-Texas head-to-head. I know it was a real game. I know it happened. It was 2 months ago. It was eternity. I don't think the committee was going to give it nearly as much weight as, the AP and the coaches did 2 months ago when it first happened. So that was like my big fear. But just looking at how low Alabama still is on tonight's poll, hard to believe that both of them would be able to stay in the top four. Not saying that Alabama wouldn't get in. I think the SEC champion gets in no matter what. But both those teams getting in, that would be my fear. That would keep an undefeated Florida State out. But the way it's all lined up in a range, I can't see the calculus that lets Florida State or leaves Florida State out after they're able to be victorious on Saturday night. So feels good, man. Feels real good. That is a wrap for Wake Up Warchant. Thanks to Tom and Gene for hanging out last night and letting me use that on our podcast feed. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you all for listening. We'll do a mailbag tomorrow, next 2 days. I'll be at practice today, though. I'll try to give you some better practice observations, fingers crossed. If not, go to warchant.com. I'm sure Ira will probably, I don't want to put too much pressure on the big guy, but we should have some sort of observation thread or story. So go check that out. That would be pretty cool, right? But yeah, we'll do mailbag. Thread is up on the Tribal Council. We'll probably keep it open until there's like 20 replies and then shut it down. That'll be the next 2 shows, as well as an interview with Mark Ennis of ESPN Louisville talking about the card. So we'll mix that into probably Thursday show. And then, yeah, that's Thursday and Friday will be the mailbag because I'll be traveling up to Charlotte for a championship game. Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. Thanks for hanging out. Hit the 5-star rating and review, thumbs up and all that. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.